Hey guys, kia ora, whakalofa lahi atu, and no mai huki mai. Welcome back to this week's podcast episode. And this week I have special guests here. I have Kendall and Cherie joining me from Active Pacific. Thank you so much for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us, girl. We're so excited to
Yeah.
be here.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome jumping on these podcasts, just getting to know people and letting everyone know who we are and what we do. And yeah, awesome.
Yes. So I met Kendall and Cherie at the Cis Collective Artia show. We did the runway together. So we were modeling. And then we also spoke as well about our businesses and what we do in the community, what we do for Polynesian people as well. What I really loved about you guys and what you spoke about was actually, firstly, loved your guys' energy from the get go. I was like, yes, I love the energy that you bring to spaces. And then also how you speak about breaking generational habits and going deeper into the why behind people's choices around food and movement as well. So that's the reason why I wanted you guys on the podcast. I think it's going to be super impactful for my community of women, especially those who have spent their lives trapped in diet culture and punishing their bodies instead of learning to understand them and love them. So I would love to open up if you could just maybe share a little bit about your guys' selves, introduce yourselves, and how Active Pacific came to life.
See, you
Awesome,
got
awesome. Yep.
yeah.
So hello everyone. My name is Cherie Stone, and this is my partner, Kendall Tamariki. We're both the owners of Active Pacific. So I was born and raised in Rotorua, New Zealand. He was born and raised in Hamilton. Fast forward, we both live in Australia, and this is how we met, and I guess how we established our business. And how we came about with Active Pacific is, I guess, he was a nutritionist at the time, and I was a personal trainer. And we were just like, bro, like, what are we up to? Why don't we just join forces?
Mm,
And we wanted to make a difference in the world. And we really had to have these conversations quite a lot. Like, okay, how are we going to make a difference? And we really had to like break it down. And we were just like, okay, we both love training. We both love nutrition. Um, is there any Polynesian coaches out there? And we
mm,
had a look, and
We found
we
there wasn't really
really,
much people that were like targeting specifically polys, and you
mm,
gotta understand like it's a very specific niche because number one, polys don't really like listening to anyone but
please.
Polynesians. So
yeah.
if you've got a coach and say they don't really know too much about, your upbringing or your culture, it's like, why would I listen to you? You know,
Mm,
but when it's somebody that knows, how you've been brought up, they know little things like habits that you've been brought up with, and it's like, okay, now you're an adult and you're dealing with these same habits and all the things that you already know
mm,
about nutrition. It's like I'll probably listen to someone that is Polynesian. So we just created Active Pacific so that we could pretty much target people that we knew we could help, and I guess the value and the knowledge that we knew. So yeah,
mm.
we just created Active Pacific so that we could help those types of people out. Yeah.
And I think the big thing for me was when I was younger, I never really had a Polynesian role model to look up to in the
Mm,
fitness industry. So like we're both doing this for our younger selves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for me, I just grew up in like a really standard Islander home. My dad was like very big person always,
mm,
and always used to get angry at me when I'd ask him to, get healthy. But really, he'd take the anger out on others, but really he's just, angry with himself.
mm,
And well, fast forward down the track, his health declined a lot, and now he's not capable. Well, he's in a wheelchair, and yeah. Well, anyways, just to cut the story short, he's unhealthy, very unhealthy. So
mm,
what we do is try and help other people out that may not have the right knowledge in order to better their health, so that they don't have to go through things like that. Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that probably do go through things like that, and they just
yeah.
need someone to look up to and someone to listen to and someone to give them knowledge.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's so beautiful. And I can totally relate to that as well when it comes to my mahi. It's doing it for my inner child, right? My younger self. And then, yeah, you just make a huge impact on so many other people because they can relate. One of the things that I really loved about your kōrero when you both spoke on stage was that you talked about unpacking generational habits. A lot of my mahi as well, I talk about the root causes, right? It's like, when you don't love yourself, it's not about like what you look like or anything external. It's coming back to the root cause. Like,
Mm.
what is the actual reason? And once we get to that reason, then you can make these crazy changes in your life and sustainable changes as well. So, can you talk us through maybe some of the common patterns you see when it comes to generational habits?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, so I talked about this in the talk. So generational habits, that's the main thing that we try and tackle. And what are generational habits? They're things that were passed down to you from your parents, unintentionally, that may have been passed down from their parents. And they're
Mm,
things that you still do today, that you would have done when you were a kid. Because all of the habits that you build up in your life are in the first 7 years of your life, which is taught from obviously your parents. That's
Mhm.
who teaches you all the things in that time. So some of the common habits that we still see today in adults, one of them would be going to food for comfort, like emotional eating. And when you think about emotional eating, yeah, like again, we have to go deep. So why? Why do we go to things like food? And to simply put it, it's so that we can make ourselves feel good quickly.
yeah.
And so if we can swap this reaction with something else that's going to serve us, especially if we have a weight loss goal, it's like, what are other things that can make us feel
Mm,
good instantly? And it probably is things like, maybe calling your grandparents or something you haven't seen in a while, or maybe having a date night with one of your kids, maybe a date night with your partner, or buying something, or
Yeah.
rewarding yourself with like a new shirt or something. These are all things that will make you feel good as well. So it's
mm,
about finding a new reaction to the trigger. And the trigger is obviously stress, could be depression, could be sadness. So all of these things, we're just trying to, I guess, sort of run away,
mm,
or comfort ourselves in things that make us feel good. So if it's a short-term feel good, then we can go to those things for a short-term feel good. But
mm,
if it's something that's constantly coming up, like we're constantly unhappy, then we have to go even deeper, and we have to try and fix that understanding and those beliefs on why we even think that way in the first place. So
mm.
yeah, there's quite a few things to unpack, but simply put it, just understanding why you do things is the best place to start,
Yeah.
and then swapping it out with something else that's going to serve you.
Yeah,
Does that make
that's
sense?
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
explained.
Yeah, that is very well explained. It's like, you're feeling discomfort. So you go to food to be like, okay, cool, this is going to make me feel better. And it does soothe that part of you. But in the long term, it's
Yeah.
not doing you any justice at all.
Yeah.
So for the people who are doing that, what are some things that they can do to start breaking free of that? So it sounds like self awareness is like one of the things. So once you do become self aware and you're like, okay, cool, I'm about to eat this piece of chocolate because I'm feeling discomfort. Maybe what are some things they can do from there?
I guess like the first thing would be like Kendall mentioned before, was just swapping it with a healthier habit. So
Mm,
if, like, for instance, I was a very big chocolate holic before
yeah.
becoming a coach, and I honestly would just eat and eat chocolate until the whole
Mm,
block is gone.
yeah.
And then it wasn't until, yeah, a couple of years ago that I was like, okay, I'm only just eating this because I'm stressed. So what I do now is I just make a healthier alternative to like something that has chocolate in it. So like an
Mm,
overnight wheat bix, or I will just have a water. And sometimes you just sometimes you just need to have a drink of water. I know it's simple, and
yeah.
boring, but you need to have some water first, and then
Mm,
that might even be like, okay, cool. Oh, I'm not even craving it anymore.
But she'll still have like a little bit of chocolate. It's just
Yeah,
not as,
yeah.
not as much.
like if there's
Yeah.
people out there that love chocolate, like what she's saying is we can bring the portion down. Like we don't have to have
Yeah.
like 2 blocks worth of chocolate now. Is maybe just have 2 squares.
Yeah.
and eat something else, that's going to make you feel full, feel satisfied. So
Yeah, so to answer your question in short form is just swapping it with a healthier habit.
yeah,
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
term is swapping like your routine for a
Yeah.
new routine, because at the moment your routine that you do every single day, all of those automatic, because a routine is just a build up of automatic habits, so that's
Mm,
what we try and fix. So small fix would be fixing one habit at a time. Big fix would be fixing your routine and swapping that out. So your daily routine will now become something else, and that's what will cause your reality, cause your, I guess, your results. So if you're
Yeah.
constantly sad all the time, constantly depressed, it's probably like, okay, what are we actually depressed about? Could it be career?
mm,
Could it be, relationship? Could it be, whatever it is? Let's have a look at your daily routine, and let's have a look at what you do each day to fix this deep problem.
mm,
And if there's nothing in your daily routine that you do to fix that deep problem, then it's like, okay, we need to change something here, and then we constantly do that, and build up days of consistency, and then you'll start to see that deep problem, um, I guess, change. So
mm,
that's the fix to long term. The long term suffering is we fix the routine and we stick at it consistently, and you do it in a sustainable way. You can't just swap out everything in the one go. You have to do things small at a time. That's why we just
Yeah.
focus on the small habits, one at a time. So that's the quick swaps is habits, long swaps is the routine, and in time will change, well, your life basically.
yeah, absolutely. And we see this as well. I mean, when people try to just they want to lose weight to look good only, so they will I guess try and change their whole diet. They will restrict themselves, they will eat only, I don't know, rice and meat, or vegetables, no other foods and stuff like that, and they do lose the weight. But then once they kind of jump off that cycle, then the weight comes back on. And I feel like that comes from that they haven't actually got into the root cause of it's your job that's making you feel this type of way, or your relationship, or whatever it may be. Have you found that with your clients that has been the case?
Yeah,
Yeah. Pretty much most of the conversations that we have with before getting them on board is is everything that you just mentioned before. Like they would restrict themselves for X amount of time, they get the results, but then they go back to their old ways because
Yeah.
they haven't found something that has suit them and their lifestyle.
Mm,
This is where we come in and we teach them, okay, our approach is we try and make it sustainable, and we give it like an 80-20 approach. So 80% whole foods, like foods like that's going to get you where you need to be. And then we allow 20% of that um, to allow them to have foods that they enjoy.
yeah,
mm,
That's
this
going
creates a
to
sustainable
sustain.
routine. So I guess what we get told, or we get sold, as Polynesians, like a quick fix, which is like,
Yeah.
hey, I'll chuck you a 8-week challenge, and you'll lose all the weight. And we see it time and time again. People
mm,
lose weight really quickly, and then they chuck it back on. And the reason why is because they got those results in an unsustainable way. They either starved
mm.
themselves, or they ate shit food that they don't like. Oh, sorry, my swearing. um,
No, it's that's good.
yeah, so they eat food that's not, they don't actually like. So within a span of 8 weeks, or 10 weeks, or 12 weeks, or whatever it may be, they do lose the weight. But then after that, they go back to old habits. So what
Mm,
they've done is they've taught themselves how to be 100% on, really strict, or 100% off, which is really
yeah.
not strict. So there's no in between, and that's why we either are really, really fit, or we are really, really big. So what we
Mhm.
try and do is, that's why we focus on the routine first, and as a
Yeah.
result, the weight comes off, as a byproduct of following this routine. The muscle comes on as a byproduct. The nutritional education comes on as a byproduct of you fixing your routine. And what
Mm,
happens is, if you stick with this routine, it doesn't actually feel like a diet, because you're doing the things that you like to do. You're still eating the food that you like to eat. So once you do lose the weight, it may take a little bit longer. Maybe instead of 10 weeks, it might take 18 to 20 weeks. But in saying
mm,
that, you'll be able to sustain and maintain your new results, because that's your life now, because you're focused
yes.
on the routine, and that's who you are now. And a lot
Mm,
of people get sold the idea of quick results, like they'll go for the 8-week challenge to lose 10 kilos, but what they don't realize is you have to maintain that 10 kilos
mm,
off even after that time period. So if we both look at the two paths. One is 8 week challenge, one is 20 week challenge. If you look in 20 weeks time, the 20 week person is probably going to still have their results. The 8 week challenge person is probably going to be back to square one. So it's
Yeah.
about looking at things long term, and that's why we always come to the routine. That's really what we focus on, and
Yeah.
as a byproduct, everything else needs to go. Like these quick results, we get sold them so much,
Mm,
and that's why a lot of polys go to it, because it's,
yeah.
it's easy. It's I guess you get quick results fast, but
Yeah.
not sustainable, and it's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a victim to all of those diets, and that's a part of, my story as well, is that I was always trying to jump on these things and get these quick results. And then also more to that was because I thought that that would make me love myself. What would you say to someone who feels out of control when it comes to food and they just keep telling themselves, "Oh no, I need to have more willpower"?
I'd say they just haven't found the right structure for them. I'd say they haven't found a good balance between eating the foods they like versus eating the
Mm,
foods they need. They've probably just gone all out in eating the foods that they need. And that what happens is when you have a really, really restricted diet, um, you end up overeating on the things, like say if you
mm,
never eat chocolate for about 8 weeks straight, you're probably going to overindulge at that 8 week mark,
yeah.
and that's when you're going to have that, no control. So again, it comes back to balance, and it comes back to having a sustainable routine,
Mm,
just giving yourself the things that you enjoy as well as giving yourself the things that you need. There's a balance. So when there's problems, it's usually when we're doing too much of one or the other. We're giving ourselves too much of the food that we like, that equals unhealthy body.
yeah.
We're giving ourselves 100% of all the foods that we need, that equals unhappy. We're,
Mm,
we, we're mentally unstable. So it's a balance,
mm.
and that's yeah what we try and teach.
Yeah, awesome. And you have kind of covered this, but just to kind of make it really clear, I would love for you to talk about, because you both support weight loss, but it's in a way that's very different from the mainstream diet culture. So I would love for you to talk about the differences between what we're sold in mainstream culture, which I talk a lot about, like that's not good for you, and the mahi that you're doing, because I also want to make it clear, when I do my mahi, a lot of people think that I'm against weight loss, which simply isn't the case. It's not that I'm against weight loss, it's I'm against the way that it's been sold to people of, here, to have this diet, it's going to make you confident. It's going to make you love yourself. It's going to like solve all your problems. That's what I'm against. But if you're losing weight to become more healthier, because yeah, you love yourself so much, or you're doing it for your kids, future generations, because you're noticing that maybe your knees have too much strain or too much weight on them, your body's not moving how it used to move, those kinds of things, then I'm like, yeah, how, yeah. So if you could kind of simplify the differences between the two, for our audience, please.
Yeah, so I guess the balance between, like loving yourself, and if you want to lose weight and be healthy, I guess the first thing to unpack is, if you think about people that are doing like the WBFF, they're really, really ripped, heaps of muscle. If you actually talk to them and ask them, are they happy with themselves? Most of them will
Mm,
say no. So this feeling of loving yourself, it actually never goes away until you confront it head on. So what I
mm,
mean by that is, even if you do lose 10 kilos or 20 kilos, you're still going to have that, you're still going to have that conversation with yourself of, do I love myself yet?
mm,
So, and in saying that, we can actually, what we're trying to highlight is, you can have that conversation at any part of your weight loss journey. Like you can have it when you're,
mm,
in week one, or you can have it, say when you're on week 100. What
mm,
we're trying to say is, this is a conversation that you need to have with yourself, that you actually can't avoid ever, because the only way that you can actually be happy with yourself is by having that conversation with yourself and saying,
mm.
am I happy now? Because it does come with a balance. So
Yeah.
what we try and do is, you try and notice that as early as possible. I am happy with my life. I am happy with the things that I have. But at the same time, I want to balance it out with trying to be the best version of myself. And how do I do that? It's probably by making sure that I'm progressing, um, to be, healthy, fit, or career wise, or whatever it may be. But you appreciate every milestone as you come along. It's not, I'm
Mhm.
going to be happy once I'm up here. It's, I'm happy at this level. I'm happy at this level. We're trying to make sure that we are living a fulfilling life,
Yeah.
and that comes through appreciating each step. And this is something that I've struggled with, because I used to always be the type that's like, I'll be when I start this business, or when I lose this weight, or do this competition, or come first in this. It it never actually happens. Like, I have come first in things, and you actually
Mm.
don't feel satisfied, because you
Mm.
still have to have that conversation about, are you happy? So it just comes down to making sure you're
Celebrate.
chasing something, but you're appreciating every step of the way. Does that make sense? I think.
Yeah, when that whole time you were talking, I was just like, "Yes, yes, yes, this is the reason I love what you guys do, and everything that you guys stand for as well, because it is, knowing that, happiness isn't when I get to something, or when it's like, have that conversation with yourself now, anytime, no matter what you look like and all the things." So I love that so much. What are some red flags that women should watch for when they are looking at programs or advice when it comes to weight loss?
That's a good question. I think finding coaches that you can relate to is probably the biggest thing for
Mm.
any female, or
Yeah.
anyone, female or male, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to communicate and be open to your coaches. And I think that's why most of our clients can be open and honest with us when it comes to their kids, or if they've got a tangi to attend to, because we can
Mm.
understand the importance to being at a tangi, and sometimes our nutrition can't be 100% on because of the
Mm.
food that's at those events. Um, and for example, like if you're a female back in NZ who has 4 kids, has to work 2 jobs, a single mother, and you go sign up to a lady who is in America, she's skinny, she's petite, she's white, doesn't have any kids, she's probably not going to understand this woman
Mm.
because she doesn't know what she's going through at the
Fine.
time.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's probably like one thing to look out for when finding a coach for yourself.
For someone who does want to feel better, be healthier, even lose weight, but without this restriction or these toxic, restrictions, where do they start?
Again, they start with their routine. They
Yeah.
start with their routine, and honestly, just knowing that quick results are honestly a lie. Like, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
there's no way that, like, you're trying, like, people get sold the 8 week, 10 week challenge. It's a lie, and we just need to go for something that's sustainable long term. Because what
Yeah.
you're trying to do is, they're selling you the idea of getting rid of the habits that you've built up, say 25, 30, 40 years, however old you are. These are habits you've been doing for years, and they're
Mm.
selling you the idea of, to iron all of them out in 10 weeks. It's like, it's not a 10 week journey. It's actually a long
Yeah.
term journey. So we need to find a long term solution, and that comes back down to the routine.
I love that you highlight, like, you've been doing this for like 30 years. You think it's going to be done in 8 to 10 weeks? Like,
Yeah.
no, it's way longer than that to undo
Yeah,
all this
like,
stuff.
the best thing to do in 12 weeks is to kickstart the journey.
Yes.
Like, that's pretty much what we try and do. We lock people in for a minimum of 12 weeks, to, like, the main goal is to highlight the habits and start
Mm.
action on them. Once they've been with us for 12 weeks, usually they do see really good results. But
Yeah.
then after that, if they're happy to go out on their own, they do, and we wish them well. And they now have these tools to continue the rest of their journey, because it is a long journey.
Yeah.
We are just the turning point in their journey,
Yeah.
and they have to be able to do it on their own afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that so much. Are there any go-to mindset shifts or tools, practices that you recommend for women trying to unlearn these toxic food beliefs?
Probably number one, um, finding the habits, finding the automatic habits that you do that you don't actually realize is a habit yet. Because a habit's only a habit until you realize it's a habit, and then after that, you're choosing it. So
Mm.
we're trying to highlight the things that take us. So whether it's going to food for comfort, whether it's overfilling your plate up, whether it's finishing off a big feed, and not feeling satisfied until you're stuffed. These are all little
Mm.
habits that we do. So we're trying to highlight the ones that we already do, and we're trying to find a new reaction to it. So first thing would be find the habit. Next thing would be what's your current reaction and figure out why you actually do that reaction. Like go deep. Is it to find
Yeah.
happiness? Is it because you've been taught this or whatever it is? And then we're trying to find a new substitute for that. So that's basically what we need to do. Find the habit. Why do you do the current reaction and find a new reaction? And we just need to practice this constantly. And then when that trigger comes up, we automatically fall back on the new reaction instead.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. So I'd love to know, what does a sustainable and empowering approach to nutrition and movement look like day to day for people that just have no idea?
Balance.
Balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
balance. You can have things that you like. You can
Yeah.
have things that you like. It's just about learning how much of it can you have. And then you also got to balance it with things that you need to be doing, like whatever it is to be healthy. If it's a bit of movement, if it's maybe just having healthy breakfast and lunch, and then maybe you can have free range at dinner, and just practicing like nutritional choices. Does it have
Mm,
protein? Does it have, say, three or more colors on your plate? Like if you've got a plate and it's all brown, it's probably fried food, and like let's chuck
yeah.
a little bit of color in there.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. So we're trying to balance again food that we like versus food that we need, and the main thing that we need to try and fix is portion control.
Mm,
That's probably the common one
Mm.
we see. Portion control, and it's honestly
It,
because we've been um, we've been taught that from young. Every event that we go to as Polynesians always backed up with big food.
mm,
So if we rock up to a celebratory event and there's no big food, we're kind of disappointed,
yeah.
and we don't really understand why. And the reason why is because growing up, you're probably backed up with heaps of food at the end of an event.
Yeah.
So it's just realizing that maybe we were taught it's a little bit too much food, and
Mm,
we're just
yeah.
we're just replacing these habits with new ones.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. I love the balance as well, because a lot of times when people are on these diets, or they're saying like, "Oh, no, I can't have that. I can't have that." Like, and it's like, no, you can also change that to be like, "I'm choosing not to have that." But also you can have it if you want. Like, don't deprive yourself. Like I would used to starve myself, and I had this all or nothing mentality, which was really bad, really toxic. And I, yeah, had so many underlying beliefs around food and things like that, and punishment. And so I love that you talk about balance, because it is all about balance. I feel like with a lot of things in life, it's all about balance.
Yeah,
we're
always.
very big on balance.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
when we talk
Like,
about nutrition, I think people think of us as coaches and think that we just eat like healthy only. Like
Yeah.
like I had a beer the other weekend. Like Cherie had
Yeah.
chocolate. And this is the 20% that we're talking about eating things that we like. But
Yeah.
in saying that, like yeah, like we had a beer or she had chocolate. But like I'm about to run a marathon, 42 kilometers next week. So it's like
Wow.
there's a difference in knowing
um,
what you can have versus what you can't have. So
Yeah.
it's just about portion control. Like again,
Mm.
that's honestly what it is. And we as coaches would never sell the idea of you have to eat this all, otherwise no results. That's not
Yeah.
true. Like what is true is there has to be a balance. Is the only way to true results is by finding a sustainable routine long term.
What would you say to the woman who feels stuck between wanting to change her body? So she wants to lose weight, but she also wants to love herself as she is. What would you say to her?
Probably why? What's your why first?
Mm,
Why do you want to lose weight? Is it because you're unhealthy with yourself, or is it because you want to become a better, healthier version of yourself to do something?
mm,
Really understanding your why will motivate you to actually do it. And you need to make sure that it's a deep why. Like it can't be a shallow why. Like if and a
mm,
shallow why, what I mean is, I want to lose weight to look good for others. It's like that's a
mm,
shallow why.
Keep asking yourself why
Yeah,
7 times in a
yeah.
day.
If you ask yourself why 7 times, you'll get deep enough. So it's like, why do I
Mm,
want to, feel? And then it's like, oh, to look good for others. And it's like, okay, why do I want to look good for others? And if you go deep enough, it's probably because I don't know. It could
You don't
be
feel good.
you like
Yeah.
you don't feel good in your skin, and it's like, why do I
mm,
don't feel good in my skin? It's like probably because I no, I haven't been living up to my full potential. It's like, okay, that's your why. I haven't been living up to my full potential. Now you can go into this journey of weight loss, knowing that that's why you're doing it. It's like so I can live up to my full potential. It's not so I can look good for other people anymore.
yes.
That's the
Um,
byproduct.
yeah,
Hey.
that's a byproduct. So that'll come as a byproduct. You will look good for other people, but that's not going to be why you did it. You did it
Hmm.
because of the deep why.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yep.
I love that so much. Ask yourself why 7 times and you'll get to the answer. Why is such a beautiful question as well, though. It's like, but why? But
Yeah,
why?
well,
But
you're taught
why?
it by kids. Like, my
Yeah.
daughter says it all the time.
Yeah, true.
Why do we do this? Like, sometimes you actually don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why do I have to, finish the rest of the food on my plate? And you're like, oh, I don't even know why I told you to,
Automatic.
And like, but why do I have to do? And it's annoying
Mm.
when they say it back to you. You're like, because I said so. Really, you should actually ask yourself, well, why did I actually tell them, to do this thing? And if you get deep enough, sometimes you're the one that's in the wrong.
Yeah. That's true. Actually, that is so true. Sometimes kids do confront you and you're like, yeah, why? Like,
Really.
why do I do that? Or why am I telling you these things? And sometimes, actually, I've realized when I used to say it to my nephews and nieces, I was like, oh, I think it's just because that's what I was taught. And I never asked why because I was told not to ask why growing up. My dad was like, don't talk back, don't like be
Yeah,
seen and not heard kind of vibes. But then when you think about it, it's like, oh, yeah, actually, good question. Why? Like,
they just don't want to. They don't want to be confronted if they're wrong.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
parents wrong, they're like, how dare my child tell me what's up? Like,
yeah,
I'm just
that's
gonna
true.
take that power away, and I'm gonna say, don't question me.
Yeah, that's so true. But kids teach you so much, hey?
Um,
Kids are
Yeah,
amazing.
heaps. In the
really
weirdest ways
is.
too.
Yeah.
Unexpected ways. You're like, oh, okay.
Test you.
Yeah, they test you. Awesome. So we are wrapping up a little bit, but I'd love to do like a quick fire of like true or false questions that are really common. I feel like when it comes to movement, when it comes to nutrition as well. So the first one is carbs are bad for you and they make you gain weight.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that's the bit. That's yeah.
That's cliche. Yeah.
Hell no, that's a false.
Yeah.
What actually causes is overeating carbs.
Mm,
You can have a piece of bread, maybe not a whole loaf.
yeah. If I'm not sweating, it doesn't count as a workout.
Oh, that's a good one. That's classic. No deal.
No deal. No, false as well. Yeah, it depends on what you're working on, like
Yeah.
if you are trying to go for cardio, you can do like long cardio, which is just a long walk. You might not even sweat. If you're going for a sprint, you're sweating, but it depends on what you're training for. So, nah.
Skipping meals helps with weight loss.
Right.
This one actually could
It's
cause the
common.
opposite effect. Usually, what people do
Mm,
is they will starve themselves for the first, say, like breakfast and lunch, and then they'll be, oh yeah, I only eat one meal a day, and then on that dinner they have like a family box, and it's
Mm.
like, well, that's actually
mm,
more than your daily calories, so you're actually still in a calorie surplus. It
yeah.
comes down to portions and
Yeah.
like knowing what to eat. Starving yourself could actually have the opposite effect. It does work for some people, but it could be the opposite.
And to mention as well, it's not good for your metabolism also.
Yeah,
Like
true.
if we're not feeding ourselves, our metabolism isn't working.
Start to slow
It'll
down.
just slow down.
Yeah, it'll figure out that you're not feeding it. So it's like, well, I don't have to burn as much. So it'll start to slow down. And your metabolism is the rate at which you burn fat. So if you're slowing it
Mm,
down by starving yourself, then yeah.
this is very interesting. Um, weight loss equals health.
I think your mindset equals health.
Yeah.
It depends on what healthy looks like to you. Like someone that's a bodybuilder, oh sorry, like a strong man, they're really big people versus someone that's a marathon runner, they're really skinny people. So there is no um, picture of what healthy looks like. It's whatever goals you have and what you want your body to do. That is the only picture of health that matters. So just ask
Mm.
yourself, what do you want your body to do, and is it doing it? And that's healthy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I love that answer so much. I feel like I'm gonna clip that so it's gonna be all over social media. That is a good answer. Thank you for that. Pain and suffering are necessary for results.
Oh, that's a tough one, eh?
It's
It's
like
like a
both
yes
yes
and a
and
no.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you need to go through a little bit of suffering to learn a lesson to level up to the next one. So it's like you get to this level, you drop a little bit, learn the lesson to get to the next level, another lesson, next level. So
You have to kind of go through the suffering to
yeah,
kind of level up. Yeah, like you said.
because
And
if you
then,
are constantly given wins, you'll never know what to work on.
yeah.
Mm,
So I guess pain and suffering, like, yeah, you do need not heaps of pain and suffering, but I don't know. It's a tough one. I always think of this thing called the rubber band effect. If you know what that is, do you know what that is?
no.
Like, so the rubber band effect is when you go through a life lesson, or maybe like a string of life lessons, and what happens is your life slowly starts to pull back like a rubber band. Feels like you're constantly losing, losing, losing. But what happens is the more lessons that you get, more stacked up, it'll fire in the wrong direction, especially like intentionally the other way, as much as how much you've suffered. So if you go through, say, like three really big life changing lessons, you're probably going to learn so much that it's going to spring your life in the opposite direction, and you'll probably get three levels higher than where you were. It's like a yes and I'd say yes, just not when you think of suffering, maybe not suffer heaps,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
just a little, just a little bit.
But that's true though, because I feel like that's why a lot of people don't do this stuff is because it's uncomfortable. There is pain there. So they're like, nah, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to feel pain. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna stay here and
they
not do
just
what's required of
they
me.
stay on that same level
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. If you slip up, you ruin everything.
No. It's funny when
Everyone
you ask
slips
these
up.
questions, most of them were like it's honestly the not the first time we've heard any of these questions.
Yeah.
We just jump back on track. Just jump back on track
Yes.
and get back to that routine. Again, that routine is your automatic thing that you fall back on now. So when you
Mm,
slip up, you just start the next day and go back to your automatic routine. And
yeah.
results come through stacking up consistent days.
Consistency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about, because I know a lot when people do slip up, they say mean things to themselves. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're a failure. Oh, I told you you couldn't do this. You didn't do it. Oh, you've just ruined everything." Oh, like, they're really mean to themselves. What would you say to someone who does go through that kind of spiral? And I think sometimes if they don't get themselves out of that spiral, they'll just stop and not get back on track. What would you say to them?
Yeah, you got to take action. You just got to jump back because if you get stuck in your thoughts, then your thoughts will I'll
Eat
guess
at you.
yeah, they'll eat at you, and then you'll start a new action, which is usually not going to push you towards your goal. Like you're just going to stay stuck in that mindset of like that deep hole.
Yeah.
What you need to do is stop the thoughts, just get back to your automatic routine, and then and start and make sure that you're going into the right direction, taking action on it. Yeah, I think a lot of people they do jump back into like say if they have like a bad weekend, they'll talk themselves out of it and they'll be like, oh, I'm really bad, and then they'll go back to the habits that they were doing before, um, and usually that comes from a deep belief that they've done this before where they've fallen off track. Like we find the people that are the
Mm,
most aggressive towards themselves are the ones that have fallen off track many times before and they've just done it again. So what happens is they've stacked up all of these bricks of evidence and they've done it for the 100th time. So that's why they're 100 times more aggressive on themselves when it comes to the mental talk that they have. So people like that, there needs to be a new action because they've been doing the same reaction for probably ages when they fall off
mm,
track is and that's why they keep staying in that loop is understanding that this is a habit that they do is when they fall off track they mentally tell themselves aggressively that they are not worthy,
yeah.
then they go back to what they know and what they know is the habits that they've been doing for years. So we just need to change that mindset of Yes, I fell off track. Yes, this is normal. And yes, this is, you're probably going to have to like live the rest of your life and have a couple of days where you do fall off track. That's realistic.
Mm,
So it's like, what do I do now when I fall off track? I go back to my new routine.
yeah,
The habit that they've been doing before is when I fall off track, I go back to my old routine.
yeah.
So again, habit, what's your old reaction? Substitute it out for the new reaction. That's another example of an automatic habit.
Yeah, nice. Good. You should never eat after 7 p.m.
Wrong. Depends on your day. People that are doing FIFO work or they work 12-hour days, like your body actually doesn't know what time it is. Your body
Mm,
just knows when it gets given food. So depending on your lifestyle, you need to give your food a certain amount of calories depending on your lifestyle. And when you get that in, it is completely up to you. Just try and make sure that you're spacing out meals, like 3 to 4 hours in between. Because if you go too long without a meal, you'll have no
Yeah.
energy. So it depends
mm.
on your lifestyle. You can eat whenever you want, as long as it's spaced out evenly and it suits your life.
Your worth is tied to your appearance.
You're worth it. Tied to your
Yeah, that's
appearance.
wrong as well.
Diets aren't sustainable.
Ones that don't suit you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that don't suit you they aren't sustainable. The ones that are yuck, they're not sustainable. But if you got food you
Yeah.
actually like, then yeah,
Then you probably
yeah,
most likely would stick to that plan.
yeah.
Okay, last one. Movement is more important than what you eat when it comes to weight loss.
No.
They come hand in hand. Best results come from good movement, backed up with good nutrition, and then also having things that you enjoy. But one is not more important than the other. One does get you more results than the other.
Mm.
Like your nutrition gets you more results than movement.
Mm,
But the perfect combination is both of them together in balance with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot of us, like a lot of polys, they're awesome when it comes to training and movement.
yeah.
Um, but then their nutrition is out the gate, man.
Mm,
But then you've got people whose nutrition is awesome, but then they don't move at all. Like they
Yeah.
got
yeah.
office job and they don't, So again, they have to go hand in
Yeah.
hand.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Honestly, it's been so helpful, and I know it will help the women so much who are listening to this. I actually believe it's going to change their freaking lives. I'd love for you to drop in what's coming up for Active Pacific and where can people connect with you and work with you.
Yeah, so we want to do a little bit more like in-person events. We don't know what that is yet. So anyone that's listening to this and he's want us to come down, hit us on the door.
Yes.
Yeah, I think a little bit more in-person events is what's got coming up for us.
Nice.
And if you want to find us, then like, we've got our socials and we've got our website. So hit us up if you're ever keen to work with us. But yeah,
Give us a follow.
I'll tag you guys in the show notes as well. But again, ngā mihi nui kia korua. It's korua, hey?
I
Yes. For coming on the podcast. Like I said, it's going to help so many. And it was honestly beautiful for me. I've enjoyed every moment of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us,
yeah,
Alicia.
awesome to be on here.